It's a nice day for a white Christmas. It's a nice day to start again. Oh, hello. This is Dr. Sanders Gothcast. It's so cold. Welcome to Dig Me Up, December 2021. Bright summery day. It's here in Hawaii. I think, maybe not. I think I'm closer to Canada than that. Anyway, it's Dig Me Up, the monthly segment where I talk about some random things throughout the month that I felt like some birds joining me. We're gonna have some sad stories, we're gonna have some random stuff. You know how the segment works, I just talk about things. Isn't this beautiful and not cold at all? Oh, hey. Here we are in the nice world of electricity and heaters. Very good. I think it's like 15 degrees outside right now. So first off, let's cover the big, really sad story. It's that Anne Rice has passed away. Anne Rice had written so many amazing books and created a world that was really so influential in vampire literature. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, isn't the person who wrote all those racy vampire books? I mean, yes, in a lot of ways. I mean, yes, the characters were extremely sexual in many different ways. But the stories were really great, and I feel like it's just saying that and trying to dismiss all the writings like that, like some kind of vampire romance novel, really discredits some of the amazing things in these stories and how amazing the characters are. I mean, absolutely awesome books. And if I don't know if you've ever seen how many books are in Vampire Chronicles, but there are many, and there's basically an entire world created, and the lore and intertwining of each of their stories is absolutely awesome as you continue to read them. I think one of the coolest things has been the influence Anne Rice has had on several different things, not only literature, but one of the coolest ones I think people are familiar with, or maybe of a certain age, or maybe just today, maybe the popularity is large in some ways, is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the one for PC several years ago, which takes a lot of influence from Rice's particular view of vampires and that they're kind of the hierarchy of vampires. It's very interesting, and you know, I know that a lot of people are posting tributes showing the film Interview with the Vampire from the 90s and Queen of the Damned from the early 2000s. And one of the coolest things was that Anne Rice wasn't afraid to either praise or talk crap on something if it didn't meet her expectations. I know for the 90s film, was very happy with that particular product and talked about, oh yeah, this was way closer. I know that there were some changes to it, but this was a great film.
Interview with the Vampire, the film you're about to see, is one that I love with all my heart. I couldn't take greater pleasure in recommending a movie to you. I really loved it. I felt that they had captured everything important about my novel that I wanted them to capture.
And when Queen of the Damned came out, responded to a lot of emails at the time talking about, well, I don't think this lived up, and they're just ignoring me and all this stuff. And I know a lot of authors would just take the cash and just, oh, well, go see the movie. And Anne Rice did not do that. Basically talked a whole bunch of crap on Queen of the Damned, the movie, because if you've seen that movie and you've read the books, like...
Well, I didn't care for the movie of The Queen of the Damned at all. I begged the studio not to make that movie. I told them that the readers really didn't want that movie. What they wanted was a movie based on the Vampire Lestat, the second book in the series. And the studio went on and made the movie, and the movie was not really based on my work.
I get it. I mean, I know a lot of people grew up with that film at this point, and it is what it is. I think it's good in a lot of ways in sort of a campy early 2000s way. But maybe I'll revisit it at some point to give you my full opinion on it. But very interesting how involved Anne Rice was in all this stuff. And I know that there was a Vampire Chronicles series that was trying to be picked up by Hulu or something like that. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I know Christopher Rice is involved in some of that. I do actually have a personal story where Anne Rice had come to Palm Springs to do a book signing on Lestat and didn't expect there to be as many people because, the population of Palm Springs, while it's considered a big city, I think to most people who don't necessarily live there, I mean, it's not that big of a place. I mean, the Coachella Valley is quite small compared to many places like LA or something like that. But the response was so crazy and so unexpected that Anne Rice couldn't have signed all the books there that day, and just kind of said, okay, let's try and get as many signed as we can for these people and everything that everyone can get. So I actually do have a signed copy of that, but it was just like crazy amount of people were there, which is awesome. Just goes to show the impact directly and how many people appreciated the writings. But if you're looking for some suggestions as far as my particular preferences, you can't go wrong with the OG Interview with a Vampire. Gets a stage set for a series of really, really awesome books. And for some of them, it's pretty necessary to have read at least this one and Lestat for a majority of the books. So this and Vampire Lestat is great. My favorite one in the Vampire Chronicles is Blood and Gold. I just really like it. I mean, even just the intro of that book, just so awesome. This is Pandora too, but The Mummy, absolutely awesome book, super cool. Tale of the Body Thief, some people's favorite. It's pretty good. I agree. The Witching Hour also is an awesome one. Also, I do have these really weird. There was a whole bunch of these really strange comics for Anne Rice from the 90s. And this is one of them, the Vampire Lestat. And I do have like this really crazy like signed, very weird like book version of this particular thing, like the trade paper. This is actually like a volume of this. The art is okay. I know that there was a comic adaptation of The Witching Hour and stuff that I have as well, but yeah, just in case you prefer comic books instead, there are Anne Rice comic books. So yeah, check that stuff out. There's a whole bunch of other really cool spin-off stuff and other random ones that people don't like and do like. I know that every time an author passes away that all the books become expensive for like a little while and then drop off shortly afterwards. So I've worked at a few bookstores, and I will tell you that while I was there were an abundance of Anne Rice books filling many shelves, both new books and when I worked at a secondhand store. So yeah, there's no supply shortage of Anne Rice novels. So if the price is up really high right now, just wait a while. I'm sure that they'll drop because these stories are widely available. Also, check out some of the audiobooks. I know the Interview with the Vampire has a really good audiobook. But yeah, it's really, really, really sad. Starting to get to that point of where some authors are getting to that age, and it's just horrible. But the stories will always live on, and the legacy will continue forever. So, yeah. Why is it hard to make plans with snow? They're so flaky. Next up, I was asked on Instagram what my opinion of the Tim Burton Addams Family Netflix show, what did I think of that? And, I'm somewhat excited, I guess. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Tim Burton is really creative, and he's made some amazing films and some really classic goth films. And I really like the kind of macabre spookiness to a lot of his earlier stuff, but I mean, a lot of his newer movies and stuff don't really have that same kind of darkness to them. Like, yeah, maybe they were a little bit creepier than if Martin Scorsese did them or something like that, but a lot of the charm and kind of over the topness of things like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and Night Before Christmas, don't around like Big Eyes and stuff is a great movie, and Big Fish is a great movie, and I kind of like the aesthetic combined with some of the things that he has done before. And don't get me wrong, some of the newer stuff maybe doesn't appeal to me as much. I think he's still a really good director, and I think when he does go to the darker places, it's awesome, and that's what I like to see from him. But yeah, I hope he does that with the Addams Family. And it is cool that he is again reuniting with Danny Elfman to do it, to have the score, which they'll have that creepy Danny Elfman score that we all love to see in Tim Burton films. It gives it a signature style. I mean, the cast looks cool and everything. I'm hesitant in a way to be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome, because you know, it's just the new Addams Family stuff that's been coming out. It's okay, but it's not great, you know? I think they need to make it darker, and the plot to this one's supposed to be like Wednesday has psychic powers and it's supposed to be discovering something, like going to like academy or trying to solve like a mystery of her parents. And yeah, I mean, the Addams Family have always been supernatural to some extent, you know, obviously eating like horrible things, and they don't really die even though they are doing these very dangerous things. But psychic powers, you know, it should be interesting, something different. A lot of the producers and stuff from the Addams Family, the new ones, like the animated new ones, are working on this. So let's just hope that they take a good script and you know, allow them to do something a little darker and spookier and aesthetically maybe a little more macabre. So yeah, I mean, if it's good, then that's awesome. You know what Snow's favorite restaurant is? Chili's. Great American food. Big back. Remember that? All right, another thing that I wanted to recommend this month, and I read this book, doesn't really relate to goth at all. It's a music-based book, but I saw the reviews and it just, something about it like piqued my interest. It's a New York Times bestseller, which is surprising. It's NOFX, N-O-F-X, The Hepatitis Bathtub and Other Stories. Now, I like reading pretty much any band biography, like even bands I'm not really that into. Like, I read Billy Idol's biography. Not really a big Billy Idol fan. Read it. Very interested in his music after I read it. There's some super awesome stuff and some really cool insight you can get by reading some of these autobiographies. You know, like Debbie Harry's one. And there's some really cool stuff, and sometimes they're kind of boring. I remember I read Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden's biography, and it was terrible. It's horrible. It seemed like he just omitted stuff, only included a few stories, and then just, the tone of it was really weird. But this one felt brutally honest. For a band that is not that serious, as far as like lyrically, I mean, often seems very playful on stage and joking around a lot. I know they've had a number of controversies. Just probably have made most people who exist in the world offended at some point. So this book is not for everybody. I mean, heck, even some things in here I was like, whoa. It's an interesting study in like human behavior, honestly, in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stories about drugs and addiction and basically managing, because the band never went to like a major label, so it's very interesting to see how they navigate being an indie band forever. Like, they never went to a major level. You know, I gotta be honest, there's a whole portion of the end of this book that's about their family members dying and their moms dying, and each one of them talk about what it's like, their relationship with their parents and stuff, and it is brutal. And I did not think a book like this, a book that seems totally ridiculous, would make me cry, but I got that part and it was so heavy. It's so heavy. If you ever experienced loss in a heavy way, this thing just rips open that wound. It's just like, oh, because they're just so honest about it, you know, about how they felt and how dark the situation was, and yeah, it sucks. So kind of want something a little different that you might not expect. Like I said, I'd heard a few albums from them. You know, I was aware of the band in a way, but this book was really good. Take or leave their music, I guess, as far as, you know, I know some people just aren't gonna like their music, that it's kind of like skate punk type stuff, but this book is awesome. What's Snow's favorite song? Ice, Ice, Baby. In the segment of some things I've been listening to, one of the ones was the Blackula soundtrack. I thought this was a fun one to throw in here. 1970s film soundtrack. A really good soundtrack. Got some like kind of like horror soul type of music. Really unique. Fits really well with the movie, I guess is the way I would put it. So this one's really cool. Also, you should check out the movie. And then, you know, I go in and out of listening to this band, Typo Negative. You know, I really enjoy Typo Negative. Have made some of my most favorite songs of all time. Pretty much my favorite band of all time. I know I've said that many times, but sometimes I go through breaks where I just don't really listen to them that much at all. But this is probably seen as one of their classic albums, Bloody Kisses. This is actually like a gatefold LP right here, and it's on green vinyl. But this, along with October Rust, is probably considered their two definitive albums in a way. I do have Slow Deep and Hard on vinyl as well. You know, every album was so different with them, and I really enjoyed so many of their songs. And you know, Bloody Kisses, I did a review on this like a long time ago. Still one of my favorite videos that I did, but you know, not my favorite album from them. I had some awesome songs though. Too Late Frozen, ooh, such a good song. But yeah, I was brought into the band through October Rust, and I still think that that's the better album for me overall. But you really can't discredit any of their records because they're all just so unique and kind of you know, just sort of their own thing. It's so hard to describe the band in a lot of ways. I know that a lot of people, especially now, it's like you're seeing way more influence of them now than I had seen even like right before they stopped being a band, right before Peter Steele passed away. It's almost like they're way bigger now than back then, because I remember trying to talk to people in like 2010 going, oh yeah man, like Peter Steele died, one of my favorite bands of all time, Type O Negative, and they're just like, who? You know, most people only knew them from like, oh, that song that was on MTV, like Christian Woman or Black Number One. But absolutely very unique band, very awesome band if you're into it. But yeah, some of the stuff I was listening to this month, of course, with all like the Cure and stuff. I'm working on some Cure videos, so I've been listening to a ton of that. But you'll hear about that in a little while. Why is it? Never mind. Also, I do want to recommend this month. I have been playing this awesome game in my free time. It's called Beyond a Steel Sky. I want to recommend that. If you like Cyberpunk with a little bit of humor and actually a little bit of like, they have a thing called Solar Punk now, which is like a little brighter type of feature thing. There was this game in the 90s called Beneath a Steel Sky. It's like a point-click adventure game. Like, you know, it's not really action-y, shoot 'em up. So if you don't like shooting games, this is a good one for you. But there's a game called Beneath a Steel Sky from the 90s, and they made a sequel to it. And it's like 3D, roaming around adventure game. You like kind of detective type games, cyberpunk stuff, humor. It's great. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. Like, I really can't understand how, if you like that kind of stuff, like detective, point-click adventure games, Beyond a Steel Sky, which is, you know, the new one, is great. You don't need to have played the old one from the 90s. It definitely helps. You definitely get more of the references, but they kind of clue you in and kind of get you up to speed on it. But I really enjoyed it. But yeah, stick me up. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much, I was trying to update you on stuff this month. Hopefully I have more stuff coming out. I mean, I should have a little bit more time coming up. Yeah, December's always crazy in my life, so I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, you can follow me on social media and stuff. But YouTube is probably the best way to see what I'm up to. Anyway, that's it. Stay spooky.